Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We'll be diving right into a discussion segment. Now we move to the topic that we take a closer look at, which is Nigeria's finances, particularly the issue of budget gaps and how they affect the lives of ordinary citizens. Now in 2025, Nigeria passed a budget of over 54 trillion naira. On paper, it is an ambitious spending plan with promises to boost infrastructure, improve healthcare, revamp education, and invest in other critical areas. But beyond the big figures lies the reality that worries many Nigerians. How will this budget be financed given dwindling oil revenues, limited tax compliance, and a debt profile that continues to rise? Now, even more pressing, what guarantees do citizens have that the money allocated for capital projects, roads, hospitals, schools, and power will be used transparently and effectively rather than lost to leakages and abandoned initiatives? So for everyday people, this is not just an economic debate. It affects whether farmers can transport their goods to the market, whether students learn in classrooms with desks and books, and whether families can find affordable healthcare. Now, the gap between projections in the budget and delivery on ground remains a source of deep concern, raising questions about accountability and governance. Now, this morning, to help us unpack these issues, the funding challenges for capital projects, the transparency concerns, and what the 2025 budget truly means for Nigeria's future. We're joined this morning via Zoom from Lagos by Muktar Mohammed, a finance and economics analyst, stockbroker, personal finance coach, budget planner, and an advocate of financial freedom. Thank you for joining us this morning, Muktar Mohammed.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Abuja.
Good morning. All right, when we look at these, should I say, budgetary gaps in Nigeria, what are the main drivers of Nigeria's persistent budget deficits, especially in relation to, capital projects?
Recurrent expenditure. That's one of the most easier questions that one can ever answer. Because again, when you look at Nigerian budget, capital expenditure, they normally don't make so much provision for capital expenditure. What we have is recurrent expenditure keep increasing by the day because of and some of these recurrent expenditure by ordinary Nigeria. We are looking at the political class, the PEs, the special advisor, the ministers, the cars, the editors of cars, and others. So largely, it's recurrent expenditure that is the greatest problem of Nigerian budgetary deficits, and especially in terms of salary and allowance. And like I said, when you look at the average Nigeria, they are not earning so much salary compared to what you see the political class earn. So the key driver of Nigerian budgetary gap is largely the recurrent expenditure.
All right, when it comes to, financing, especially when Nigeria is relying on heavy borrowing to finance capital projects, does it affect the implementation of the national budget?
Well, ordinary is not supposed to affect if you are borrowing to do capital projects, and what it means is like what the project will itself be able to generate revenue to pay for the borrowing. So that, but again, when you look at our borrowing, sometime most of our borrows are borrowed towards recurrent expenditure, salaries and allowance. I mean, so that's where the challenge is. Borrowing itself is not bad if you are borrowing to meet up with capital project that will have meaningful impact on the life of your citizen, and in turn have a snowball effect on everybody. So that is good. But when you are borrowing because you also want to use it for recurrent expenditure, that's where for me the challenges lie. But borrowing in itself is not a bad idea at all.
We see many abandoned projects, roads, schools, even, borehole. Is this because money is released late or in small amounts, or is it that, our leaders don't, know what it takes to, put these basic amenities first for the people?
I think you have said it all. I think it's just about not putting those basic amenities first for the people. I think that's where the challenge is. It's not because, again, basic amenity first, because what we see is more or less a more of political project rather than project that are there to help the life of the ordinary Nigerian. So that for me is the biggest challenge. When you see some of these project provisions are not made for this project, especially budgetary provisions. So those projects are put in there without provision. And when I talk about provision funding for this project to be carried out, is after this project has been put in there, then you start looking for the funds, and that is not the way to go about it. And even when provision are made for those funds, the what will I say? The funds itself are not provided. It was one time a minister, the late Tony Anene, said. He said money I said it was budget money release. I mean, there's a way he put it like the fact that it's in the budget doesn't mean that money will be released. So we have those challenges again, and you can see that now we are running over two budgets. We are running 2024 budget and 2025 budget. One is backed by cash, one is not backed by cash. So you continue to see that because again, we've not got into that area whereby our politicians or administrators become what I call prudent in terms of fiscal prudency. What we see is physical, the physical side especially have been reckless in their spending.
All right. You just spoke about, not getting allocations or projects being abandoned. So to what extent do delayed or abandoned projects affect economic development and public trust in the budgeting process in Nigeria?
I'm sure if I ask you now, you don't even believe in budgets. A lot of Nigerians don't even take the time to look at the budget of the country, what is provided from it. That tells you there's a lack of trust. Some people don't even know the difference between local government budget and state government budget. So that tells you that we don't even have trust in the budget system. Budget is supposed to be the key drivers of businesses. It's when you see the budget, you begin to plan as a business. But in Nigeria, what we have seen thus far and what we have continued to see is that a lot of people don't plan with budget because, like I gave you an example, if you have planned with 2024 budget, today now we are having both 2024 and 2025. What are we planning towards 2025? So it's a big challenge. That's why the lack of trust comes there. And in terms of impact on the economy, on the people, you can always see it when this project are abandoned. Each politician comes with promises to finish abandoned project. I don't think there's been any campaign that you see politician goes to that don't talk about the project that will be abandoned. That will be their key priority to finish those projects. That again causes intensity. It's also part of the problem that affect the finances of other projects because the budget. Let me give you an example. 2024 budget at an exchange rate of 450. Today, if you are executing that same budget, you'll be doing 1,500. So that have jacked up the price of the budget. I mean, the price of the project, and that's why sometimes you see that challenge in terms of physical budget deficits higher because again those budgets have overlapped into the year and you don't have a stable exchange rate, especially when such budgets are budgets that are planned with exchange rate. So those are basically those impact that their jobs are not created when sometimes this project starts with a lot of job coming in, smaller business benefit from it, and all of a sudden the project is abandoned, those businesses are out of business. And also that also affects the life of most people, livelihood of a lot of people that are dependent on that budget for their businesses.
All right, let's look at transparency and accountability. A lot of citizens often don't know how much was sent for the communities, that is the budget for certain projects in their area. Why do you think that this information is hard to come by?
Lack of trust, because you don't even believe in it. Even our federal legislators, sometimes you see them put a local government budget in a federal government budget. You have not heard about that. So it's lack of trust. Nigerian a lot of us don't even know budgets that are located to our areas. We are not aware of it. We are not even interested because, again, we have lost trust in our political class. So we believe that every budget is all about embezzlement. So I think that's a bigger problem for us than even the budget implementation itself. Because if you ask a lot of people, and sometimes the road in front of their house, they say the road is not good. They are not holding the local government. They are also still thinking that it's the federal government that is supposed to do those roads in front of their house for them. So that is lack of interest and also lack of knowledge. A lot of people don't even build their knowledge base or wanted to know what project is being embarked upon in their own area. I think for me, that's the greatest challenge we have.
So how can citizens, how can Nigerians, hold these leaders and track, the proper use of this budget that is being given to them, to help develop their communities?
It's all about interest. How much interest do we have? Do we are really interested in governance? Do we really want to hold our political class accountable? So if we are holding them accountable, definitely they will be accountable. So I think it's all about interest education to know that the budget, your economic survival depends on the budget. Because again, that, like I said, we have not seen, we don't know that budget has been the key problem why we have not moved forward economically. So until we begin to see budget as a personal thing that you need to look at the budget every year, then you look at your locality, you say what projects were allocated in my locality, or when are they supposed to do that project, who are the contractor handling that project, how much have been released from that project. That is when you begin to see a lot of political class will become accountable. With the advent of social media, sometimes also that also will help, because if I go to look at a budget that have been implemented, I mean a project has been approved in my area, and then I see that funds have been released, I can go there and take the pictures and send it and say, look, you released from this thus far, this is how much jobs have been done, and the job is still lying down here. So that also will help. But again, first and foremost, we need to be educated to know that budget is like a lifeblood of an economy. You need to know that budget is important. Then also you need to have be interested in knowing what and what is there for you in your locality. And you see, this is a fundamental problem, because you ask yourself, how many Nigerians also have personal budget for their expenditure, their investment, their capital? So that also will also flow into our national life. What if you have somebody that is very interested in budgeting for your finding, for your finances, for your investment, for your salary, you become more interested in what happens in your economy.
You just made mention of Nigerians having to be able to be aware when it comes to budgeting in Nigeria, and you just spoke about, social media. So can digital tools like probably open budgeting platforms improve transparency in capital project funding and monitoring? And if so, what are the barriers to adoption here in Nigeria?
The barrier to adoption, let me start there. Definitely, they will improve. You even have to just look at what is happening these days in terms of security personnel. You realize that a lot of SSCs have been curtailed through the advent of social media digital platforms in addressing some of the rascality of our security personnel, even in the political class also. So definitely that will help. The second question that you talk about what are boys? I mean, you see, we are sometimes when you try to do this, they call it cyber bully. They say they are bullying the administration. You are not going by the rule. I think that's again is a bigger problem, because sometimes you go to social media, you post a thing, and they send the political class have all the might to send the police after you to say you are bullying them, you are tarnishing their names, and that. I think that for me is the major problem in terms of dealing with these issues, because again, we have not seen transparency in that space whereby somebody's accountable. If I post something, I think the next thing you need to do, especially something that affects the life of everybody, is for you to come in and be accountable and telling me that no, this budget will be done. This is where we are, what we are doing. Because sometimes budget are process. You talk about if you make budget allocation for a road, you need to look at the drawing, you need to look at the environmental impact assessment, you need to look at a lot of things, and those are not what you see in day to day. after that, then when all these are done, that's when you begin to see the fiscal structure begin to come in place. So government need to also enlighten the people in terms of budget. Okay, yes, money has been approved, and like I said, the minister said money approved is not money released. So you can also make them understand that money has been approved, but money has not been released, and we are waiting for money to be released today. So those are the transparency that we need to do. But most especially, I think the executive arm must make sure that every budget, every project that you are budgeting for, every capital project, you already have cash backing towards implementing that project. That will bring trust. So when somebody asks, you are able to say, this is what have been released year and year and year. Then it will be fine rather than having an abundant project and then you do variation every year and you see those projects keep going high by the day.
All right, when you speak of, or let's speak of policy reforms at this point, what do you think Nigeria can do when it comes to structural reforms to close Nigeria's budget gaps and ensure more sustainable capital projects financing?
Yeah, fine. The only way we have to do is make sure that for every project that we're implementing, we have cash backing. That's just it. And also we need to look at our revenue, whether we should also begin to look at our revenue, whether it will accommodate project. We need to look at that through why it's in the budget allocation, why is federal project, state project being put into a federal budget, and also why is a local government project being done by state governors, or why is a state government project being done by federal government, or why is federal government project being done by state government. All these are what we should begin to look at, and proper budgetary processes. And in terms of structure, you already have a Ministry of Budget and Planning, you have a director also of budget. So all that shouldn't have been an issue. But the major issue is that because some of these projects are located politically, based on political reason rather than economic reason. Because in terms of budget, yes, they must be placed for political reason, because the president is from Lagos, you must do the coastal road, or the minister is from Ebonyi State, there must be good road in Ebonyi State. That there's part for that, but again, the bigger picture should always be the economy and the generality of Nigeria.
You made mention of, the interference between, political reasons and, the budgeting. How big of a problem is this? And, what rules can stop political influence from deciding which projects get funded? Because we have seen, projects from some, states and communities that is not really needed. Like some states will want to come up with, building another airport, which of course we know that, there's an existing airport already that can ease, easy transport, So how do we go about this?
It's all about structures. It's all about structures. And again, that's where we have challenge in terms of structures. Yeah, you and I know that we are having this challenge in terms of structure. The fundamental structure, the civil servants are the one present and preparing the budget. They should be able to open up, and then there should be an overhead function of both the National Assembly. That's again is a big challenge. The National Assembly should have overhead function to make sure that this budget is presented, and is presented according to the rule, that is with the rule of law, that a federal government project should not be put in a state government project, or a local government project should not be put in a private in a federal budget. I think that has to do with structures and then overhead function, what we will call integrity in the part of the people that are involved, to know that they need to follow the right budgetary process, and also for the budget office to be able to stand up and say, look, this is a state project, cannot be put into a federal project. But by and large, I think the basic way that we can guide that is the people and also the legislators in performing their overhead function. That will be what we cut this political interference. But will you totally eliminate political interference? Definitely not. But you can bring it to the barest minimum, so that projects that are of economic variety to Nigerians will be the project that will be implemented.
All right. As a finance and economics analyst, as well as a budget planner in your own expert perspective, in the face of a rising, debt and limited revenue, how can Nigeria prioritize spending to focus on high-impact capital projects?
Exactly. You've said it. We have to prioritize spending. We don't have to do a 20-kilometer route that we know we will only be able to perform 10 kilometer when we can put that project into power to bring more power for the people. We don't have to start project that we cannot finish. You are doing white, state governors are building airports where they could also be able to put this money into agriculture and also education. These are things that we need to we start doing. Those are prioritizing the project that will have impact on the generality of your people. Because what we see, like we mentioned, is the political project is always different from the real project. So we need to put politics aside, make sure that projects are implemented that will have overall impact on the life of the citizen, especially the ordinary Nigeria. Project that will create job, not just create job for the short term, project that will bring development, that will take people out of the poverty level, especially in the area of education, healthcare, and agriculture, so that there will be food in the table, people will be able to go to school, and the health, the well-being of ordinary Nigerians will be taken care of. But the situation whereby you do what I call white elephant projects that you go and a state like give me an example, a state like Osun State say they are building airports for people to come and land, and I ask yourself and look at Lagos, how much of this traffic can you take away from Lagos, and how many people are traveling to Osun State? How many of projects you have Osun State? Is that airport just going to be built so that the governors and his family or the entourage should be landing there, his friends? And so we need to look at that in terms of planning. We need to look at planning budgets that will have more impact on the life of the ordinary people than budget that are more or less um, being like a personal glory project, because some governors do some project for the personal glory. Oh, I want to locate a school in my area, I want to locate an airport in my area, I want to make sure I finish the road in my area. Until we begin to look at the economic viability of every project that is included in every budget, we'll continue to have those challenges.
All right, in your view, what is your view concerning continuity, when it comes to, projects? Because we have seen, different administrations, starting up a project, and then when they leave office, the new administration comes in and abandon that project instead of, picking up from where the last administration, stopped in making sure that that project comes to light. In your view, do you advise that, government should, pay attention to abandoned projects, make sure that these projects are being finished before they start executing new projects?
Yeah, I think again it has to do with the problem when the governor comes in. Like I said, some of these budgetary projects are based on political reasons. So once you come in there, you have to look at those projects and begin to review. I agree with reviewing of some of these projects and look at projects that will be economic variable to your people, and then you go about with those projects. But projects that will not be economic variable to your people, they might become abandoned projects definitely. So that's what I think. But again, it also must be looked into and reviewed, not because a new party comes in, even when that project is variable, you want to stop it. And sometimes corruption also comes in there, because some of the political appointees will feel that the previous appointees have gotten kickback from those budgets, and they will suspend that budget to negotiate for their own kickback before the so we need to begin to for us to stop abandoned projects, we must also make sure, like I said, projects are economically viable for the people. So that for me that will be one key thing that we need to do to reduce abandoned projects, and to make sure that whatever project that you are doing, the incoming administration will be happy to do it. I made mention of the Kaduna state. You see some projects that were in the southern part of the country, of the state, that were abandoned, and now those projects are being done by the current administration, and the people are happy, despite it was abandoned by the previous. But the current administration have seen the economic viability of that project to those people, and those are what we see. We should be seeing, and we have seen him also abandon some projects that he think are not of economic viability to the people, way from the previous administration. So there must be a balance, not just abandoning a project for personal reason, or because we are of different political class, or for the advent of corrupt tendency. But if you abandon a project because again there's no cash back in and it's an impact on the people, is less, then definitely no, that's not a bad idea. But also look at don't just abandon the project. You look at the impact on the people, what it means to the people. Definitely, they will have little abandoned project. But the key driver is make sure that a lot of budget. Yeah, there could be political budget, but let's make sure that we are only maybe we're having 10% or 15% of political budget, and you have about 75 to 80% or 90% of budget that are economical variable. Then you will not be seeing the kind of abandoned project that we are seeing.
All right, when it comes to efficiency in executing capital project, is public-private partnership a viable way to bridge funding gaps for infrastructure, or are these risks, are there risks of, worsening opacity and inefficiency?
Yes, in every good thing there's a bad side. If the foundation is faulty, PPP is the way to go. Again, PPP is now becoming the global best practice because it has people have realized, and governments have realized, government, every part of the world have realized that they don't have enough resources to carry out a lot of projects that they will want to do. So PPP is the way to go. But in doing that, like you pointed out, also we need also to begin to look at the structure of the project, because again, when you're talking about PPP, what it means is that that company that is doing that project is going to ask for one relief or the other. You know what has happened to the tax holidays that a lot of company gets in Nigeria. Some of them are shown because of who you know. They are not looking at the variability of it alone. But if you know anybody in government, you have tax holiday. No, so that's what we need to work on as a country. But globally, PPP has been the key drivers of major projects in the world. Now build and operate, build and operate, build and operate. It might not be the best of airport, but when you look at the new Terminal 2 of the Muktar Mohammed International Airport in Lagos, you realize that it's better than Terminal 1, and it's a PPP project. You look at the local terminal also, you realize that the Terminal 2 in the local in Murtala Mohammed Airport that is PPP driven is better than the one that was built by government. So PPP is the way to go. If you come to Lagos, also you look at the road from Apapa all the way to Ojota. It's a PPP project that we embark upon, and you can see how impactful and how solid that project is, that will take the test of time, rather than some of the other challenges is that when you don't have good projects, you are not being monitoring those projects. You give a company say we are going to use 1 billion to finish the project, but there's no monitoring, and they are going to use less than that because they want to enjoy a larger tax holiday, and then you turn a blind eye to it. So that for me is the major challenge that we will have. So, but PPP is definitely the way to go. But the challenges are there. But those challenges are surmountable if we have the best interests of the people and of our nation.
All right. Thank you very much for being here and helping us unpack on budget gaps that we do have here in Nigeria.
Thank you for having me. My pleasure always.
Absolutely.